On 5 March 1933, a general election was held in Germany. By this time, the National Socialist Party controlled the police and its thugs controlled the streets. The Nazis controlled the vote counting. Despite fraud and despite frightening many opposition activists either into fleeing or keeping quiet, the Nazis still did not manage to get a majority, but they did get 43.9% of the vote. The SPD came second with 20.4% and the Communists had 16.9%. With all the fear and intimidation, the SPD vote held up remarkably well, especially as many of its leaders had fled or were in hiding. The Nazis took 33 of the 35 electoral districts, with Cologne and Koblenz returning the Centre Party, which nationally took 11.2%. Due to the nationalist DNVP, German National People's Party, taking 8% of the vote, the Nazis were able to form an alliance with them, which in turn allowed them to form a parliamentary majority. This majority became more effective by preventing those that did not support him from attending parliament or having him arrested. So who voted for the Nazis? The first thing one would suspect is that many communist voters went over to the National Socialists, but that would not explain everything. The communist vote fell by 4.5% whilst the Nazis grew by 10.8%. The Nazis polled over 55% of the vote in the border areas with Poland, East Prussia, Pomerania and Frankfurt on Oder. They also got over 50% in Lausitz and Breslau, areas in which the population was to suffer very cruelly for this support 12 years later. However, they also received over half the vote in eastern Hanover, Schleswig, Holstein, Hamburg and Chemnitz, Zwickau. The vote in Bavaria oscillated around the national average. This pattern does not suggest the communists were going over to the Nazis. Indeed, research done on voting patterns seems to indicate that although the Nazis attempted to represent the uneducated working class, those that ended up voting for them were more the middle classes and better off. I would suggest that the role of the Reichstag fire was very important in the voters' minds, who may have learned about it from the media outlets of Alfred Hugenberg, leader of the right-wing DNVP, and who along with von Papen brought Hitler to the chancellorship in January 1933. Thus the Nazis used the imagined fear of communism to produce something that was in reality much worse, and something which would less than 7 years later be allied to that very communist ideal which it claimed to oppose.